As the 2024 presidential race intensifies, Kamala Harris's campaign is highlighting her roles as San Francisco District Attorney and California Attorney General to cast herself as a law and order Democrat. This shift towards a tougher stance on crime could be seen as a departure from the traditionally softer approach to criminal justice that many Democrats have supported, which critics argue makes communities less safe. However, Vice President Harris's record raises concerns. Voters may scrutinize her past actions and question whether her new tough-on-crime stance is genuine or a strategic maneuver. Critics argue that Harris has often used her prosecutorial power to advance her own agenda rather than genuinely addressing the needs of victims and the vulnerable. During her time as San Francisco District Attorney and California Attorney General, Harris supported sanctuary cities that protect undocumented immigrants, including those accused of violent crimes, from deportation. That policy allowed undocumented immigrant Ronnie Aguilera, who had been convicted of federal assault in 2007, to avoid deportation and continue harming innocent people. Despite his violent history, Kamala Harris chose not to assist in Aguilera's deportation. Aguilera later went on to murder a 22-year-old man by nearly decapitating him with a sword. As a recent U.S. citizen and Mexican immigrant, I believe this: if you truly want to support immigrants, you must deport those who pose a danger, particularly those with violent criminal records. By backing sanctuary cities, Harris isn't helping immigrants but putting them at greater risk. Moreover, during her tenure as California Attorney General, Harris halted the enforcement of Jessica's Law, which was designed to impose stricter penalties and restrictions on sex offenders. Although she initially supported the law as district attorney, she later instructed parole officers to ignore its restrictions on where sex offenders could live, allowing them to reside near children. Harris's record reveals a troubling pattern of compromising public safety for political gain, often at the expense of the most vulnerable. As Minneapolis was engulfed in flames during violent riots, Kamala Harris endorsed the Minnesota Freedom Fund. This fund aided individuals accused of serious offenses, such as murder and sexual assault, by providing bail for their release. The fund's actions led to the release of some who subsequently committed additional crimes. This isn't merely a misjudgment. Kamala Harris often champions causes that she believes will advance her political career. Should she become president, there's a concern that Harris might prioritize the demands of radical left-wing activists over safeguarding Americans and upholding justice, all in the pursuit of re-election. Whenever Harris takes a tough-on-crime stance, she often misuses state power to prosecute individuals who may not deserve it. As Attorney General, Harris notably expanded the practice of prosecuting parents of truant students, frequently targeting low-income and minority families. This approach often exacerbated the difficulties faced by struggling families, while failing to address the underlying causes of absenteeism. There is no clearer example of Harris's misuse of power than her record of keeping innocent people incarcerated. In 1999, Daniel Larson was wrongfully convicted and sentenced to 27 years to life. Even after a federal judge determined in 2010 that Larson was innocent, Kamala Harris continued to fight for his imprisonment for an additional 2 years. Similarly, in the case of Johnny Baca, the Ninth Circuit Court was prepared to overturn his conviction due to false evidence. Under Harris's oversight, the state resisted overturning the conviction despite it being based on false testimony. Harris only decided to drop the case after announcing her candidacy for the U.S. Senate, recognizing that continuing the prosecution would be politically damaging. The issue with Kamala Harris is that she embodies the worst of both worlds, a politician who, while claiming to be tough on crime, exploits the power of the state to target innocent individuals when it suits her agenda. The most troubling aspect of Harris is not her stance on crime or law and order, but her prioritization of her own political interests above all else.